Maslar made a sound deep in the back of his throat and his face pinched. His purple eyes were stormy, and for a second Janelle thought she'd said the wrong thing, but then he smiled softly. Janelle, you are so eager that it already gives me pleasure. I will guide you because you've asked me to. His words sent an erotic chill racing up her spine. He reached out and took her hand, guiding it to his hard, aching cock. She'd never touched a man in such an intimate way before. Her stomach clenched hard and her throat went dry. Between her legs, Andar was taking his time, still kissing and biting her gently, blowing on her skin to create a new sensation. She sensed that he didn't want to distract her until later. Like this? Janelle asked, closing her small hand over his large, hard shaft. Good God, he was so thick that she could hardly make a fist around him. She began to slowly stroke him back and forth. Yes, like that, Maslar responded through gritted teeth. He arched his pelvis into her hand, thrusting slightly in time to the rhythm her hand was setting. Drops of moisture beaded on the head of his cock, and Janelle reached up with her hand, smearing the liquid over his engorged shaft to lubricate her hand as it slid down and over him. She worked his cock, growing more confident when he closed his eyes and sighed with pleasure. When he reached down and placed his large hand over her own, Janelle stilled. Would you like to take me into your mouth now? Maslar asked, his eyes opening and focusing on her face. Yes, Janelle whispered, her answer coming out like a plea. Maslar nodded. He said nothing but pulled away, and she let her hand drop back down to her side, as Maslar moved over her face, straddling her. She watched him intently, half afraid that he was going to choke her like that. Do you trust me, Janelle? Maslar asked again. Yes, she said, I do trust you. He brushed his fingertip over her cheek. Don't worry then, I would never hurt you, even though you are going to do this. It is still about your pleasure. I understand. Janelle waited with her breath held as Maslar palmed himself, taking his massive cock in his hand. He stroked it gently a few times, and she watched in awe as the member responded, pulsing in his hand. Droplets of moisture formed on the head again, but he didn't brush them away. Instead, he moved his cock to her mouth and let the salty droplets fall onto her bottom lip. Her tongue snaked out and tasted the rich musk of him. It was salty and rich, unlike anything she had ever tasted before. Janelle swallowed the taste of him, hungry for more. Janelle opened her mouth and Maslar pushed his cock in an inch past her parted lips. She tasted him with her tongue, running it over the smooth, velvety head. She explored him, tasting every inch of him. She reached out and cupped Maslar's balls with her hand, surprising them both. She teased him there, exploring the smooth, hairless skin before she moved her hand upwards, pulling him towards her, urging him to give her every single inch of himself. That's it. Maslar gasped when his cock was half in her mouth. Suck me. Take me to the back of your throat slowly. I'll let you set the pace. He slid in slowly, inch by inch, and Janelle sucked him as he commanded. She wrapped her lips around him, taking him deeper and deeper. She stopped suddenly when he was at the back of her tongue. She wanted to see how far she could go, but she also wanted to explore him. She pulled away slightly and ran her tongue over the engorged shaft, over the veins and the hard ridges and silk of his skin. Maslar groaned, and leaning forward, he gently stroked her cheek. Between her legs, Andar blew on her wet, swollen sex and gently started to lap at her. Janelle moaned, the sound half smothered by Maslar's cock in her mouth. She quivered, leaning into him and Andar at the same time. The pleasure Andar's mouth sent radiating through her body drove her forward. She arched her head upwards and tilted her face back, sucking Maslar's cock to the back of her throat. She nearly choked, but she kept going, taking him to the hilt. She pulled away and did it again, setting a rhythm as she sucked and tasted and teased him with her tongue. Janelle, Maslar whispered huskily. The way he said her name told her that he was greatly enjoying what she was doing, and it spurred her on.